What is up, everybody? My name is Jonah, and welcome to episode 2 of the DSG Report. Let's get straight into it. Okay, so we had a very interesting weekend of games. Um, Not exactly what you would have wanted, but there was some positives, and we're gonna talk about that. So, schedule for today. Last week, you know, matchup versus FlyQuest. Kryra. Kryra's Kryra is coming in this week. We're going to talk about him, who he is. I don't know too much about him, but I'm going to give you what I do know. And then we'll be talking about LYON, our matchup next week, a big one against LYON. So, yeah, let's get straight into it. All right. So, unfortunately, DSG comes away with a 1-2 loss against FlyQuest, the Young Bucks, this week. Um, there was some frustrating things, but also in general, I think as a DSG fan, the first thing I can say is that overall it's looking a lot better to start this year than it was last year. Even though obviously we want to win, um, I honestly was not expecting us to be in this position so quick, where we're disappointed by not being able to pull off wins, and we still did take a game. So it's not like we were like, oh, we fake beat a bad Sentinels team, and then we lost to, we just lost to the best team we are like as soon as we played them, or one of the better teams as soon as we played them. We beat a solid Sentinels team last week. I mean, they just beat up on or they just beat the mess out of Dignitas this last week. And then this week we played against a really like hot start FlyQuest team. And so let's talk about that. Um Overall, I think you could feel we're still a step behind, and it's kind of frustrating because FlyQuest is also pretty young. Actually, I think they're younger than us overall, but it feels like they're farther along. And that's not necessarily cause for concern. Just because the team is young and they're far along doesn't necessarily mean they'll be better farther down the line. But it just makes it feel like it's possible. Like this match felt like, hey, if we win this against this other team who's looked pretty good, and they still look pretty good, then how good can we be immediately? But we'll just go through the game by game. So game one, let me see. I got my game one stuff here. Oh yeah, game one was just tough all the way around. Game one was just so. Sajid had his first. Well, Sajid had another really tough lane. Uh, Remember in the series against. Sorry, in the series against Sentinels, Rahel and Huhi had that one Lucian Nami game that they played into Sajid Lions, and they just took it to him, and they were camped by jungle, and it was really rough the whole time. Well, this season, or sorry, well this series, it was different. Well, it was still the same, but I mean it was like right off the bat. You know what I mean? So Masu and Cryogen, who I mean, for fair reference, they did the exact same thing last week to Bvoy and um, Seos. Bvoy and Seos, who are supposed to be pretty decent, Masu and Cryogen looked really good against them, and so unfortunately, in the first game of this series, they locked in Ezreal Karma, and they just kind of dominated bot lane. There was, I think, one fight that was a little bit close. Was it? No, no, that wasn't that one. That was a different. I think that was a different series with another like quirky Ezreal. I think that was the C9 Lion series. But so yeah, so they really punished them a lot in lane, and I feel like the whole game was just kind of thrown off by that. Our mid lane jungle could never really get too involved. That one was just really rough overall. Um, don't think it was all bad. Uh, Definitely think you could still see that we're doing stuff in the games. We're not just falling over and dying. It seems like we're a team that wants to quickly lose, or like if we're losing, we're not just gonna like wait till 35 minutes till they beat us at the last dragon and then fall off. We're gonna like try to force fights to get back in the game, and so that's what I mean by quickly lose is like when you try to fight a lot to get back into the game, you risk losing all those fights, and you're just gonna it's gonna go from being like a this kind of like we're about to lose curve to being like a it being like a this kind of we're about to lose curve, and that's fine. I would rather us be a team that's active, going for plays, as opposed to a team that sits back and is just like, ah, well, what what we're gonna do, or what are we gonna do? So there's that. But that was game one. Um, I'm trying to think about anything else specific. Yeah, it was just a tough game. I think this was the game that was probably the worst from us this week, and it's the game that shows you we still need to improve a good amount. But yeah, I think that one was just from the bot lane kind of to the rest of the map. Um, and that's just kind of something you'll have to improve on. I mean, we know Masu's really good. He's looked really solid. Like I was hoping in my like preseason stuff that if Masu and Quad can like not take a step back, then I was saying that I thought that FlyQuest could be pretty good. He doesn't even look like he's taking a step back. He looks like he's gotten better. And FlyQuest definitely looked like they're benefiting off of that, especially in lane. Like they look dominant in lane. I would be interested to see them go up against TL or something like that because that would be super interesting. But yeah, so that was game one. Game two, okay, game two was fun, and not just because we won. It was just an exciting game in general. But game two, I feel like okay, I'm gonna do my quick player of the week. So player of the week this week is gonna be Call Me, and it's just because I feel like he's so vital to what this team wants to do. I think you saw. If I had to say last week, I would have said Sajid, just because woohoo, like you're in the LCS, you had a pop off week or pop off series. But this week, I definitely have to say it's Call Me because I mean he's really solid. Like I put him low in my power rankings. He's way better than that, and it feels like a lot of the things we want to do. Of course, Kisno's looked great. Lions, Castle, Sajid have all had their moments, but it just seems like the game kind of runs through Call Me, and he's really good at. I mean, he was playing the sides well. He was using the rise well. We were going for plays, like it did not look like there was a ton of times during the game where we're trying to do stuff with rise ult, and that's good. You want to see stuff like that, especially out of a team who's just come together, who's like actively trying to get things done on the map, even if they're losing, even if they're behind. That game, Fleck was kind of through by trying to force that Baron, and Kisno and Castle were on like the Giga flank. They ended up getting in there, had a huge big team fight win, Baron. Um, so that was great. And that doesn't take away from it. It's just because they throw doesn't mean our win is any less good. It's just like that's just how it happened. But yeah, I mean, I was just happy in that second game that we're just willing to fight. Like it's not a we're not afraid to scrap. And you saw it in the first series against Sentinels. In the first game, it was crazy, and so I think you saw it again in this series. That makes me happy, because teams that are good are usually teams that fight well, and the fact that we're basically saying from here to who knows how long, hey, we're gonna be a team who fights, who tries to push the game forward. If we're behind, we try to find things, stuff like that. Those are all great signs. And so I think you saw a lot of that in game two, and I think a lot of that flew through Call Me and what he wants to do. Honestly, I think it also goes through Kisno a good bit. I don't know who's shot calling, but those are the two guys that look like they're doing a lot. I think Lions has some good moments too, but I just don't know because I don't know who's calling it. Maybe Lions is the one directing everything or something like that. But yeah, so just good stuff. This is the kind of stuff you want to see from a young, well, from teams with new players. So with Kisno being a rookie, with Sajed being a rookie, with you know Lions and Call Me being new members of the team, it's good stuff. Next week with Kryra, I am interested to see if we keep playing a very like fast-paced style or if that was more of a Kisno thing. And if it's not more of a Kisno thing, then I'll be interested to see how Kryra fits into that because it seems like Kisno fit in really well. And side note, we will talk about Kryra later, but I will say we've already signed on Kisno, so I don't think there's any use in like just quickly like passing him off. As soon as Kryra comes back, I want to be committed to Kryra. But from what I've seen, Kisno is plenty good enough to be our jungler for the LCS. So I don't want to put pressure on Kryra to be like, hey, you have to be good in 1 or 2 weeks or else you're out. But I mean, there's also like, hey, this guy was already super good. Now you have to be good. Like you have to be able to do that, because if he was able to do it just off the bat, I mean, it's hard to say that he doesn't deserve a spot. So I don't know. But yeah, we'll get into that later. But yeah, so for game two, that was it. It was good to see us win. Very fun game. Um, Hopefully we get some less stressful wins. We'll talk about next week's game and what it looks like, or next week's match. But yeah, so that leads us to game three. Game three looked pretty close, and this is why I say Call Me was the player of the week for me, because he was still doing a lot. He looks mechanically very solid, and he was still pushing the game forward. A lot of the things we wanted to do were flowing through him, all that kind of stuff still. And I just think that shows like what the level he's come at for the LCS, he is ready to go. Like he's been ready to go the whole time. And whoever found him, I don't know if it was general manager, if it was Ido, whoever it was, awesome find. Awesome find. Call Me is 100%. He's looking like a mid laner who can compete with the top echelon mid laners because I definitely don't think he got bullied in lane or anything like that. He definitely didn't get bullied in lane last week against Darkwings, and that's Darkwings and Quad. Who Darkwings I would say is a tier lower than Quad for sure, but Quad is definitely amongst the best, and he's playing pretty well right now. So yeah, really good stuff out of Call Me. But yeah, so in game three, he was pushing things forward on that Yone. Um, it was just man, Griffin on the Mbessa was just insane. I mean, I hate to say it, but like it looked just broken. Like it kind of sounds cheap to just be like, "Oh, your champ is broken," but Ambessa just looked broken. Like he's just doing like he's just killing our entire backline and not taking like a single bit of damage, like at all. Like that quadra kill he got was just crazy. Like it just quadra kill, huh? Um, yeah, it was just like I don't know. I feel like there's nothing you can do. It seems like a broken pick. Um, and so speaking of draft, I was honestly so okay. Let me tell you. Game one draft, um, I was wondering why. Maybe Call Me feels comfortable with the Azir, but I don't know. The draft feels a little like it feels like a very modern, like a now this season meta draft. But when you think about it, it doesn't make a lot of sense because why does Azir want to play with like basically no CC? I mean, I guess we had Nami for a bubble. It's not very easy CC if he happens to hit it. Um, Kisno's Kisno and Rumble go well together. Like the Wukong and the Rumble go well together, but that's only if you can get. I mean, that's just a 1-2 right there. And but Call Me doesn't really have the opportunity to like, just like sit and auto people. He doesn't have any hard CC outside of I think Kisno's ult. Um, and even then, that's just kind of a knock up. It feels like there was no like force them to sit in one spot kind of CC like you'd see with like a Leona or a Nautilus or something like that. Stuff that'll really let the Azir get a ton of damage off. But that was just game one. Game two, they did a lot of good things with the Rise. They picked the Rise and they picked Vi, who could move around the map really well. I really don't know that much about Rek'Sai, so I'm not gonna say anything. But and they did a lot with the Bard Rise and Sajid on the Kaisa. He looks really comfortable on Kaisa. We need to get him on that champ as much as possible. Game three, I like that they were trying to do something different, trying to go Diana in the jungle, trying to spice it up a little bit. But unfortunately, yeah, it's a Ambessa jungle was just insane into our team and could never die, and it just seemed like we were on the back foot. That game was so weird because it felt like we were competitive, but we were down by like 3 or 4K gold for so long. Like, all right, what I mean is that there was a point where we were down by 3 or 4K gold, or even more. I'm not sure, and it felt like everything we did, good or bad, like in terms of getting kills or like getting things on the map, felt like no matter what, we were always still losing the gold lead. You know what I mean? And then eventually, like, or we didn't have the gold lead. I mean, like the gold lead was expanding for FlyQuest, and eventually, like the dam broke, and they just ended up winning all these team fights and getting the Baron and quadra kill and ending the game. So I don't know. Overall, I would rate our performance probably like a 3.5 out of 5. Definitely not. I actually don't think it was bad by any means. I think FlyQuest is actually just really good right now. They look really solid, but definitely not good enough if we want to be competing at the top level. This is a team like if you told me, hey, a top three fringe, or like a top four fringe top three team for sure, you are competitive against. You take a game off and you just lose a best of three. I would have said, okay, because I would have thought you would have been for sure meaning Cloud9, TL, or LYON, one of those three. And I would have been like, oh, we took a game off of them and we are competitive. Like, I'll take it for where I thought this team would be. So compared to the expectations before, this is a really good sign. Compared to the expectations they set based on these 2 weeks, you can get better, you know? And maybe with Kryra, who knows if he's better or worse? Um, Maybe with him you can actually kind of level up even farther because he's supposed to be a pretty solid prospect. So that's from this last week. Um, Stuff to work on, but I really like our team. I really like Call Me. I feel like I've seen our carries both have big moments, and that's just good. I'm sad Kisno's leaving, but I'm also excited about the next guy we have, and that is well. And before I get to that, and Castle and Lions have both played their parts pretty well. I'm excited to see Castle when he gets a chance to really do his thing. You know, it's gonna happen, and I can't wait for it. So yeah. So speaking of which, um, in the jungle, we're letting go of Kisno. Unfortunately, well, we're not. I don't know if we're like releasing him, but he's not gonna be a starter anymore because the guy we were supposed to have at the starting position, Kryra, is coming in this week against LYON, and I feel like it's not a good thing. And let me explain why. Kryra is starting his LCS career. He's been screaming with us, which is good, but he's starting his LCS career after DSG has both surprised because I would bet nobody would have thought DSG would have been this impressive looking to this point, with especially with Kisno. And so DSG, like, expectations wise, they're not as low. If he came into like a team that had lost both games, you wouldn't even be worried. You'd be like, well, maybe he can make them better. But he's coming into a team that's like, hey, we want to make playoffs. Maybe we can do some damage in playoffs. So he's coming into that team, but he's also coming in to play against the best jungler in the West in his first series. Definitely the best jungler in the LCS still, in my opinion. I think Inspired was better than Blabber overall in that series, even if they didn't win. So I think it's a recipe for disaster, unfortunately. That doesn't mean I think we're 100% going to lose. That doesn't mean I think Kryra is 100% going to have a bad debut. I just mean, like, I feel like it's an unfortunate situation because now and Kisno played pretty well for 2 weeks against Sentinels, who is like a middle of the pack team for sure, and FlyQuest, who looks pretty good. Kisno like did his job and looked better than like a Phil. So for Kryra, he's gonna have to look pretty good pretty quick, or else people are gonna start asking the question of, "Hey, why did we get rid of that Kisno guy?" So with all that said, welcome Kryra. So if you don't know about Kryra, he is how old is Kryra? Well, okay, first he played on Blue Otter last year to end the season. They actually finished third, I believe, in the playoffs for NACL. If you're unfamiliar with NACL, that's just the second tier for North American League of Legends. Um, he was on that Blue Otter team. Blue Otter is a pretty popular tier 2 organization, kind of grassroots. Um, and yeah, they competed well last year. The playoffs is the one that qualifies you to make the relegation promo relegation tournament, and uh, Blue Otter was actually third in that, so they were one off behind Conviction to make it to that promo relegation tournament. So who knows if things had gone a little bit differently, maybe Kryra would be in the LCS in DSG spot, but not on DSG. So that would be funny, but yeah. So Kryra was on that team. He was on that team with Quacker, Samakin, Chrome, and Array. So and Rovex. Oh, okay, yeah. with Quacker, Samikin, Chrome, and Rovex. Honestly, I don't know those guys, but from what I've seen, he plays all the normal jungle champions. I've just been looking at the scoreboard, stuff like that. He plays the Wukongs and the Jarvins and all those kinds of things. So he should fit into the meta pretty well. A lot of engage, a lot of stuff like that. A lot of fighter jungles. Um, and I've heard he's pretty good carry jungle. Let's see. He started playing. I've got his little LOL fandom pulled up on my phone. He started playing first in tier 3 in 2023 for Team Fish Taco. I remember Team Fish Taco. Um, he started playing for them back then, and he has been on a bunch of different teams: the Cheese Chasers, Gentle Hearts, Polestar, CCG, Polestar, Dark Zero, Blue Otter, and now DSG. So, in just a few short years, he's been on a lot of different teams, so he's kind of moved around a lot. But I will give him the benefit of the doubt for that, because Polestar was that team in NACL. I don't know if you ever heard about this, but there's a team where like some venture capitalist people, or I don't know, maybe they're fake tech bros or something like that. I guess they said that they were gonna pay a bunch of money to these NACL players, ended up falling through and not paying anything to their players. He was amongst the players. I think Tenacity was on that as well. I remember hearing about that because of Tenacity. And that whole team just completely got scrapped because they didn't want to pay him. They ended up having like fills for every position. And a lot of the players on that team ended up going to Dark Zero. So Dragon's still the team that is now NRG, because they were willing to bring them in and help them be like subs, like a halftime team. Because Dark Zero is also Maryville, so they split their team basically. One team for NACL, one team for Collegiate, and they both played theirs, and so he was a part of that. So pretty prestigious organization for for tier 2 to be a part of Dark Zero, because they've been really good. So all the Maryville guys are always super good in the LCS, except Niles, but he's a good coach. So yeah, so that's Kryra. I think there's some reason to be excited about him. I've heard some good things, but it's also a tough situation. I'm hoping for the best for him. I'm hoping he's even better than Kisno. And let's just say that our GM, because our GM and coach, they seem like they know what they're doing. From what I've heard, we've only been scrimming with Kryra. We haven't scrimmed at all with Kisno. So we should be prepared, like in terms of how they want to play the game. It shouldn't be like a difficult thing to like mesh together. It should be like they're the team that's been playing the whole time. But yeah, so from what I've heard, could be good. I wish it was. I wish he was starting against Sentinels instead of starting against Inspired, but we'll see. I definitely think we can compete. So speaking of Inspired and speaking of LYON, let's get into our look ahead for next weekend, week 3 of LCS Lock In. We're going against LYON, of course, and I think I think LYON is pretty good. And when I say that, it makes me frustrated because I think we're actually not bad at all. I think we're actually kind of decent. But when you go against a team that's pretty good, especially a team that has a player like Inspire, like Berserker, Saint, Dokla, Niles, I'm not terrified of any of them. I think they're all really good. Maybe not as much Isles. I think he's pretty decent. And Dokla's like good. Berserker and Saint seem pretty good. But Inspired is really good, insanely good. And I think that's a tough matchup for us. I wouldn't have favored that for Kisno either. And just looking at the rosters, it's hard to imagine that we out fight them or we out macro them, or like it just man for man. So if I had to go, I think I might take Castle over Dokla. That's a close one because I think they're comparable. I think Dokla actually hasn't had the best start to the split, even though he had a good Worlds. I think Castle hasn't had the best start to the split. So that's why I like they're kind of comparable. Obviously, I have to take Inspired over Kryra. I mean, first guy starting his first series versus MVP of the league, best jungler in the West. Hard. Call Me versus Saint. Now, I actually like Call Me a lot, and I am not the biggest Saint like believer. I think he's mechanically very solid, but he did kind of sell their series against C9 in some ways. But I still think I have to give it to Saint because he has more experience in the LCS. Bot lane, you got to go Berserker over Sajed. I think if we get the Sajed from week one, you'll definitely see like more. We that changes our chance of winning a lot. But if you see Sajed from week two, you're more likely to see us lose and them get punished a lot in bot lane. And then Isles versus Lions, I think, is comparable as well. But I would still probably slightly give it to Isles because I feel like he's played pretty fine so far to the beginning of this year. So going off of that, that's one maybe for DSG, maybe two, maybe zero. It's like you could argue that Dokla is better than Castle, but yeah, especially for the role he plays. So overall, I think that it's difficult, um, especially that mid jungle and bot like the mid jungle and the carry duos. Those are going to be difficult to win, even though I think Calm is pretty good and I think he matches up well. Specifically, I guess jungle and bot are going to be the ones where they have a really good guy across the way, and that's a challenge for anybody. I mean, I would put Inspired and Berserker as arguably the best jungle bot duo in the league. So yeah, and they've only won one series, so we'll see. Now, I definitely think we could win, and here's how I think we could win. I think if Kryra comes in, plays just like a better version of Kisno, similar to better version, he could be playing the exact same level to better, and it would just be like fine. Comes in, plays hard. We keep the same things going. We don't get punished a ton in lane and bot lane. We're better about that. Uh, Sajid and LYON are able to play a strong bot lane that will have impact on the late game. I think that's step one. I think step two is we let Call Me get a champ where he's active. He's moving things forward on the map. He can win his lane and move out. And I think we get Castle on a champ where he can have some effectiveness and he's not in a super difficult counter matchup like he was against Impact, where he's just playing Scion in the board and he's just getting killed. Or if he is playing like a Scion in the board, that's fine because ultimately he'll be effective more later in the game. But we need him on something where he can have an impact as opposed to just kind of die in lane and have a tough time across the whole. Like I don't like Renekton. I just Renekton hasn't seemed like a wonderful pick. It seemed like it's good in some situations, but not wonderful. So yeah, so if we can get those things going for us, I think I like our carries enough that I feel like we could win games. Yeah, I think the way we lose is if Kryra comes in, he either doesn't look as good as Kisno, or he just looks as good, and we just still get outpaced in the bot lane, or um, maybe Dokla has a better week and he gets the better of Castle, or maybe Saint has like a really good week, his like pop off week, and he gets the better calming. I think the easiest way that we'll lose this game is basically if you leave the solo laners all alone and you match up the jungles and the bot lanes and those three go at it. I think if you just did that, where it's like clear gank, and it's those 3-on-3, I think I have to favor Lions just off of like player level. And I think if they can get us to be on the back foot from bot lane and not get to these fights like the fights at Baron, fights at Dragon on even levels, I think that'll be how we end up losing and kind of get choked out over the course of the game. So, but that doesn't mean I think we'll lose. I think I picked DSG 2-1 last week. We ended up losing 1-2. The fact that we took a game off of FlyQuest, and I think we deserved a game off FlyQuest, like we looked like we earned a game win, was really positive. So, yeah, for this week, my prediction, unfortunately, I think I have to go 2-1 LYON. I'm hoping I'm wrong. And the unfortunate thing is, because Sentinels got an easier draw, they have less or they have more room for error this week. So think about it. The fact that we won and they took a game off. So okay, think so. We played Sentinels week one. we go 2-1 against them, all right? So that's 2 wins for us and 1 loss, and that's 1 win for them and 2 losses. They get to play Dignitas the next week, and they get to 2 of them. And they get to 2 of them because Dignitas is bad. We have to play FlyQuest the next week because FlyQuest is good, and we happen to win to them, which was a good accomplishment to win a game. But also, I mean, obviously you'd want to win the whole thing, but we happen to win to them. So now our game score is 3-2 versus, oh no, our game score is 3-3 because we've won 2 and lost 2. Oh no, because we won 3 and we've lost 3. We won a series and we lost a series, both while getting an extra game. We've gone 3 games each time. But Sentinels is 3-2 because they only lost the series to us, but they also happened to take a game, and they didn't lose a single game to Dignitas because Dignitas is bad. This sucks because the last tiebreaker spot, like if you get 6th or 7th place in the rankings at the end of this bracket or this Swiss stage, you have to play the final tiebreaker match, which is only a best of 1. And let's just say we both get 2-0'd this weekend. Both Sentinels and DSG get 2-0'd this weekend. I think they're going to get the spot, even though we beat them. They're going to get the 5th spot, and we're going to get the 6th spot, and we're going to have to play against the winner of SR Dignitas. I just think that sucks because how is that even fair? We beat them. The fact that we beat them actually ends up hurting us more because we get a tougher opponent in round 2 and they get an easier opponent in round 2. So essentially what we should have done is we should have taken 1 game off of them, lost the other 2, beat Dignitas 2-0, and then just been like, okay, now we just have to like win a game. Because so let's say this. Let's say we don't both get 2-0. Let's say we both lose 2-1. Because I actually don't trust TL that much to beat Sentinels by a lot. And I think we're actually good enough to take a game off of LYON. So let's say both teams lose 2-1 or 1-2. Then it's the same thing. Then our game score is 4-5. Yeah, 4-5. And their game score is going to be what? Their game score is going to be 4-4. Yeah. So they ended up having a higher game score again. And even though we beat them, we fall below them in the rankings. So the only way we can get it is if we win our series and they lose their series, or if we win, or if we lose 2-1 and they lose 0-2. So if you're a DSG fan, we're rooting for essentially a TL 2-0 because that's the only one that can kind of help us in most scenarios. Anything outside of that, if Sentinels takes a game, we have to win the whole series, unless they're smart about the tiebreaker rules and they just tie break us and they make Sentinels play against the 7th place team. Because if not, that's super unfortunate, and it's punishing us for winning that first series at the end of the day. Because there's 2 teams that are bad enough to where you would rather play them. Well, actually, I think SR's actually not bad. I think Zinni has had a really bad start. We can get it. Well, this isn't an SR show, but I think Dignitas is bad, and the fact that Sentinels lucked into playing them and we haven't. We don't get to play Dignitas probably at all this split. And if we had played them instead, and we could have 2-0'd them like Sentinels did, and we would have just been fine. So, yeah, just frustrating. I'm hoping that I'm just yelling at nothing, and that the rules are that if you beat a team, then you tiebreak over them. Because I think we deserve the 5th spot. I think we're the 5th best team in the league. And, or yeah, I think definitely right now it looks like we're the 5th best team in the league, and I think we deserve that. And so it would suck if Sentinels gets a spot above us because they had an easier schedule. But we'll see. Maybe Team Liquid just had a really tough week 1 opponent. They did 2-0 Shopify. Maybe they'll just come in 2-0 Sentinels, and then we'll get the 1-2 or the win against LYON. So, yeah. So that's everything I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you all. Please like, comment, share. Let me know if you're enjoying the content. Let me know if you want to spice it up a little bit. What you want to see out of this show. I'm just talking about Dignitas, or not Dignitas. I'm just talking about Disguise League because I'm just passionate about it. I just want to have a team that I just support. And Toast is a cool creator. So, yeah. Let me know if you guys have any ideas or if there's anything that you want to see. I'm trying the player of the week thing, so that week it was calm, or this week it was call me. But yeah, let me know down low who or what you think will happen this week. Do you think, what's your prediction? Is it, you know, DSG 2-0? Is it LYON 2-0? Is it somewhere in between? Do you think it's fair that if we lose by the same game score as Sentinels, we'll probably be pushed out for them? Because I don't think it's fair at all. And if we were to play one of the two teams, SR and Dignitas, who would you rather play? I think I'd rather play Dignitas, but because I feel like I don't want to play against Contracts. He can just have a pop off game and then we're out. But I feel like I'm much more happy against Dignitas. But at the same time, I don't feel like we'll play them. So I'd rather Sentinels be forced to play that tiebreaker game and us just be fine. It's all okay if we end up winning our own stuff, but who knows? So yeah. So that's all I have today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.